Hey everyone, welcome to Union Lake Orchard, and thanks for joining us for some more high-speed barn building mayhem. In this video we're going to cut the anchor beams that tie the arcade posts together. I'm adding a narration to this video to talk a little bit about how we did it and why. There are a couple different methods we used to cut these tenons, and the first one here I like to call the Sawsquatch and Split method. The Sawsquatch is the name of the 16-inch circular saw we're using here. If you're not familiar with that, it is a beast of a tool that we definitely could not have built this barn without. So here we made a cut for the shoulder of the tenon, and for each face of the tenon we cut both sides as deep as the saw would cut, and then we tried to split the remaining material up by driving an axe in and prying it off. This method worked okay, but if you look closely here you can see the cuts opposite each other didn't line up perfectly, which we didn't realize until we had made all the cuts. And when we split the pieces off, it actually tore some wood from below the finished face of the tenon, which was a little disappointing. This last one here was the worst. We actually cut that piece off the block and glued it back into the tenon later. After that we changed it up, and this is what I call the Curf and Hue Method. We essentially made a bunch of kerf cuts at the depth of the finished face of the tenon and then hacked those pieces off with an axe. At first glance it looks a little less precise, but it gives a pretty good degree of safety. You won't cut past the face of the tenon. It's also more fun and makes quite a mess, which is why I also like to call this the Torrance Method. Or Patrick Bateman Method, or Gimli or Lizzie Borden Method, whoever your favorite axe-wielding maniac happens to be. This method removes the material pretty quickly, but it also leaves behind a pretty rough and ugly surface that will take a lot of chiseling and planing to finish up. I'm going to take a moment to tell you a little bit about the anchor beams here. If there was a centerpiece of a Dutch barn, it would be the anchor beams. For our barn, they are 12 inches by 16 inches and over 25 feet long. They are the heaviest single pieces of wood in the barn. The arcade plates are heavier, but those are made up of two 12 by 12 scarfed together. The anchor beams will pass through the mortises in the arcade posts and be secured with pins as well as wedges through the tenons. Each anchor beam will also have two wind braces, but those joints are not included in this video. The last method, which works the best, provided the wood grain cooperates, is the Curf and Split method. We made the same kerf cuts as the previous method and then used the axe to split the cuts off one at a time. As you can see, it made short work of that one, and it leaves behind a much cleaner surface to finish up. This one here, you can see we made some cuts with the smaller saw before running the Sawsquatch through. We did this to remove a little material to make it easier for the Sawsquatch to cut. A 16-inch cut at 4 inches deep is a lot of resistance, and cutting those 2 inches out first made a world of difference. I think this was definitely the way to go, and a few of these came out pretty nice without needing much finish work to clean them up. Of course, if the piece of wood doesn't want to help you out, say you have some knots through your cut so the grain isn't parallel to the tenon or something, they're not going to break off smoothly. You could see some of these didn't want to split off cleanly, so we had to resort to chopping off a few of them. And the rest of this video is just us cleaning up these tenons with the slick and the plane. There are only 4 out of the 5 anchor beams in this video because the tree for the 5th anchor beam hadn't even been cut down yet. I think we cut that one in a panic when we were a little crunched for time, and I don't believe I even recorded it. Well, thanks for joining us for our anchor beam adventure. Let us know what you think of our work in the comments, and if you found this narration helpful or entertaining. If you stayed this long, make sure you hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.